Welcome back to Running on Ice, the coolest community in freight. I'm your host, Mary O'Connell, bringing you the latest tech updates, warehouse news, and everything happening in the cold chain world. Not only is there the coolest show in freight, but there's also Running on Ice, a newsletter that could not be cooler. You can subscribe to that on freightwaves.com/runningonIce. Today, we welcome back Dana Krug, Senior Vice President of Cold Chain Fulfillment at Phononic. Welcome back, Dana.
Hey, Mary, great to be back. I'm a 3P.
3P. I know we were talking earlier that we're going to need to maybe get some SNL style 5-timer jackets. It would probably be the lamest club and not as exciting as being in the SNL club. But we got to work with what we got.
That's right.
I mean, we could turn Running on Ice into some weird cold chain variety show. That just seems like a lot of effort. I don't know how they got a team of writers. I'm one person. I don't think I could write a sketch every week.
Well, we could do this in Alaska on a truck and do the interview at that point.
There you go. Just more and more increasingly unhinged in cold locations.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that means at one point in time we got to do in like the Arctic Circle, which is insane. Like people wear like full, like huge suits. Like you end up looking like Ralphie from A Christmas Story by the end of it. And it's impressive that they can do that.
Yeah. No, I don't think I could live down there. Good place to visit once. Very short amount of time.
Exactly once. I could do like 24 hours in the Arctic Circle. All right. Well, today we are not quite getting into the Arctic Circle, but we are doing LastMile Pharma, the LastMile Pharma life. So do you mind just kind of giving us just like a quick little peek behind the curtain of kind of that current state of last mile delivery in the pharma industry?
Yeah, it's a pretty complex and moving environment right now. Because if you start thinking about, you've got people or companies like Walmart who just announced that they're going to start doing pharmacy delivery with your groceries. So you've got 4,500 locations that they're going to be able to start distributing from, and bring your bread with you and your milk and whatever pharmaceutical that you need. So you're getting more people into the game now, but you're also getting a reduction from locations like CVS and Walgreens. And then you start kind of factoring in all of the mail order, the prescriptions that are being done on a monthly basis that are coming through, even Amazon, being sent through FedEx. You've got your local companies that are delivering insulin in large boxes. So it's a myriad of a lot of different delivery mechanisms with a lot of different players in the market. So I think what we're starting to see now is, at least from our perspective on the cold side, we're starting to see that the drugs like the GLP-1s are really amping up that side of the business. At least for us, we're seeing that on the cold side. Because everybody is trying to get into the weight loss drugs. So I think what we're really looking forward to, at least over the next couple of years, some of the technology that's starting to come into the field. One of them being some of the stuff that Phononic is bringing in. But I think right now what we're seeing is a little bit of a tipping point between, I'll say, a little bit of the Wild West. Meaning, no temperature control, no monitoring, to you're now starting to see companies start to monitor everything. You're seeing consumers wanting to have safe drugs delivered, but there's some kind of angst that goes along with delivering drugs to your doorstep. That's legal. But that's kind of the state of the industry right now. It's in flux right now, but I think it's starting to kind of narrow down a little bit, and I think we're going to see less players in the market, but a lot more stringent delivery than we've seen in the past.
I think that kind of is. I feel like that's how we were almost with, like, the grocery delivery a couple years ago. Everyone jumped in. Or also like with food delivery, like, at one point in time, there was like 6 or 7 food delivery apps. And so everybody came in, and then eventually like there was the mergers and people just left, and it was just kind of all evened out. So yeah, I definitely think that that's on board for the pharmaceutical. It is interesting that Walmart is doing food and pharma delivery. I feel like that might be a touch of a logistical nightmare for them, but if anyone can do it, it's probably Walmart.
That's true. It's very true.
Um, I also I don't really I feel bad that like CVS and Walgreens are like losing this some of that business, but also like everyone I've ever talked to that has been or has either worked at a CVS pharmacy or been like a pharmacist there is just like they're so busy that I think some of those pharmacists will be like, okay, please go, please,
Well,
please.
yeah, Mary, you touched on a really big thing, right? So pharmacy and getting your prescription, a lot of people want to sit there and talk to the pharmacist. They want them to hand them the actual thing, run through all of the risks and side effects and things like that. They want that complete handoff and trust, right, with their pharmacist. And quite honestly, a lot of people know their pharmacist really well. You're flipping that now to, the person that just wants to, just give you the prescription. I don't need to hear anything. I know I've got to take it. And they just want to kind of make the transaction, right? So to your point, I think they're going to have the ability to now spend more time with the actual pharmacist and have that relationship. So I think the CVS and the Walgreens, and it even, you've got pharmacy and grocery, you've got pharmacy and club stores. I think that is still going to be there for a long time to come because of that relationship.
Yeah, I think that they'll always still have those people, but for those people that maybe they have those recurring prescriptions that come every month, I think that's kind of where that Walmart component is, because like what it is, there's no interactions. You've been taking it for however long you need. And so I think that's where that will kind of slide nicely in. But yeah, I just know that like I don't know that I would want to be that delivery driver of like, here's your groceries and your pharmacy things. Like, please don't ask me questions about it because I'm just a delivery driver.
Yeah, I could see it coming.
So I guess what makes it, because also like if you're that delivery driver, like how sometimes it's specifically on that grocery stuff, they'll say like, oh, leave it at my door. And like, you
Yep.
don't have to like bring it in or whatever. But if you have that pharmaceutical part with it, like, does that kind of bring that extra challenge with it where you can't necessarily just leave it at the door? So you have to meet people. Like, why does that pharmaceutical like component provide just kind of that little bit extra of like a challenge of not just like, can't drop it at your doorstep, have a nice day?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that you're kind of touching on them. One is, a lot of substances are controlled substances. You cannot just eat them on the front door, right? And if it's like our front door, my dog will eat all packages that come to the front door. So, and he's had a few steaks, by the way. So, you have to start getting signatures or some way of confirming that the customer is actually picked up the prescription, right? So you've got some handoff that's got to that has to happen, right? Versus just dropping everything on the front door. Some of these drugs are life-threatening drugs if they don't get them, right? So that security is kind of heightened as well. So they got to worry about tamper-proof packaging, or at least tamper, so that they know if it's been tampered with, right? So there's things like that. The controlled temperature. Again, we always go back to temperature as well. Most of the drugs, most prescriptions that would be delivered are between 36 and 46 Fahrenheit. Not a hard temperature to hit, but today in Kansas City, it's going to be 85. Yesterday it was 60, right? So you can't just leave that on the front door either, right? Not cooled. And if I look at the industry as a whole, I think the number I just read was $35 billion has been lost due to cold chain control each year. It's huge. So I think there's going to be some unique things as it relates for Walmart or anybody else to do pharmaceutical delivery. But I think there's some stuff technologically that is coming around the corner or is here now that they're starting to test that I think is going to help with that.
I'm kind of excited about that prognosis of it because obviously, like, they can deliver a birthday cake and it's fine. But then also, like, how do you do that in with a with like medication and make sure that it doesn't freeze or thaw or whatever you need? But I mean, I guess the easiest thing would just start with like, medicine, kind of like ibuprofen, where it doesn't, like, you'd have to get really, really hot to start. But then that's not always like the most accessible to people who, could benefit from that. So I don't know. It's very challenging because also, like, because to insulate it and have that packaging for the cold chain, it could potentially be like more expensive, or it could just be like, actually, that would be a really great way to introduce like a closed loop system. So like if you had like I don't know, like a box that you like charged up, put it in there, drop their stuff off, and then when you go to like bring it next week, you just, or like the next month, you just drop that box like on your doorstep and they take the old one and bring it. That would be cool. That would be really cool.
Yeah, there's definitely technology that is helping this process. So Phenonic looks for more closed loop systems, right? Because what we build is not a cheap box, right? They are in some way, some people would look at it as to be expensive, but the return on investment is obviously very, very good. But you have to get that box back. You have to get that refrigerated tote or that frozen tote back, or you have to keep it within your hands the whole time. So the way that we're kind of looking at some of the technologies right now when it comes to delivery, and you've kind of hit the scenario, right? Just keep it within a closed loop from a distribution system. But we're using active cooling, right, versus passive cooling. So for anybody that's not familiar with passive versus active, gel packs is basically just a passive cooling. After a while, it'll just kind of get warmer and warmer and warmer. Where active cooling is like your refrigerator. It stays at the same temperature all the time, right? So we use active cooling. And what we're starting to see is if you're going to do that closed loop, you have to have more predictive timing of when you're going to get to the door, right? So some of the analytics, some of the AI is actually helping in this space. Some predictive routing is helping in this space. Notifications to the customer is helping in this space, so that if you remember, if you got to get a signature anyhow, I don't have to leave anything on the front door. I can go from a chilled box in the van to the front door, get the signature. And if you want contactless, they've gone to the point where now you can get it through just either scanning or be able to do virtual signatures. So there are things where the technology is helping kind of solve some of the problems. Will I be home? Do I want to answer the door? Do I want to have it contactless, right? I got to keep it at the right temperature. So things that we're working with at Phenonic are kind of solving one area of that, but the AI, and I know AI is really big right now. And sometimes AI is truly AI, and then sometimes it's just predictive analytics. But I think there is some learning that's happening here that is helping with this field. And then some of the automation, and that's kind of a whole nother area that is absolutely helping in the pharmaceutical prescription phase.
Well, because I was thinking, even if you like, because you know how like certain companies, if you sign up for like their delivery manager, it'll tell you like, oh, you have a shipment coming to you. It should be here on this day between this time and this time. Well, I mean, like, I don't see why, if you are setting up your own like system, you could have someone like pick a time that they would prefer their delivery to come, and then you could route them accordingly. That is technology, man. I know everyone's like, AI is coming for our jobs. I'm actually kind of okay with it in this aspect. It's making some jobs a lot easier.
Yeah, I think it's making you more efficient at your job for the most part. I don't think AI is going to steal everybody's jobs. I think your productivity is just going to be skyrocketing,
Yeah.
and help you do it accurately each time. So
That's kind of like the old work smarter, not harder, and like you're only as successful as those tools that you have. Um, but speaking of new tools, well, I guess it's kind of a new tool. Where do you see like drone delivery come in? Because there's some people that are like, oh, we can like have your food delivered to you in 15 minutes with this drone, or don't get me wrong, there are some very good applications for a drone for things like with what we're seeing in like western North Carolina and disaster recovery efforts. Those drones are the MVP. Like I know we saw it a couple years ago with hurricanes in Florida with islands that were kind of isolated. That 100% perfect use case for drones. I know that like even in rural parts of uh, I think like the Congo, they're using drones when the roads get washed out for medical supplies. Absolutely love that. However, I don't need like my shampoo delivered via drone in 15 minutes. So kind of how do you see drones playing a role in kind of the last mile pharma, or are we just going to save that for maybe some more practical applications?
I think you are going to see it in pharma last mile. So you're spot on, right? Disaster relief in the Congo, in far-reaching areas, right? What's interesting is you have some of that remoteness in the United States, or stuff where it is hard to get to some of the areas in the United States. So I think you'll definitely see in those types of applications. Walmart is only 6 miles from my house or 5 miles from my house. I probably don't need a drone to deliver aspirin, right? Unless I really have a bad headache, maybe. So I don't know if you would see it to where your prescriptions being delivered by drone. I think it'll happen eventually, but I think there's still some of the things you have to get over. Signatures. What happens if it's dropped in the wrong area? There's no real true handoff, that's going to end up happening. There's no human being that's there. How do you get a signature? There's a lot of things. You probably don't have to worry as much about temperature because it's 15 minutes you're there, which is good. But I don't see drones playing a huge role. Like it won't be a mainstay for the drone. But there is a lot of prescriptions that are out there. I haven't seen the actual number of millions of prescriptions per year. So even if drones are only doing a select sliver of that, it's pretty high volume.
I mean, I could see, like you said, there are some areas that are like harder to get to. So I wonder if like, because most rural areas here in the U.S., there's a Walmart somewhere or a Dollar General, but usually there's a Walmart within about 100 miles. I could see that being, and I'm sorry that we just keep picking on Walmart. It's just a very nice example that everybody knows and is familiar with. No shade to you, Walmart. You're great. But no, I could see that kind of in more of those rural areas where maybe it might take a delivery truck, an hour there and an hour back to make that delivery. But if I could send it on a drone, it could maybe be there in 30 minutes or less because it can just go faster. It doesn't have to obviously obey the rules of traffic or wind down a windy road. So I could see that being more of a good use case for it, versus, the city of St. Louis just needing drones to get you that. Not that, we don't need drones in the city. We're a block away from a pharmacy.
Well, so I'll step back a little bit, Marion, to what you were saying earlier in the conversation around groceries. It makes it more complex. They're trying to do your groceries in the pharmaceutical. What's interesting about, I know I'm not gonna say I'm gonna pick on Walmart because I think they're doing this pretty well. One of the reasons I believe that Walmart is doing pharmaceutical delivery is really about getting density in the routes, right? So if I can put everything on the van, then my number of customers that I hit in a geographic area increases, but the space I have to drive gets smaller and smaller and smaller, right? So if my magic number, and I'm just making this up, my magic number is I only want to do 10 stops when I go out. So my geographic area for that 10 stops becomes very, very compact, because maybe 2 is prescriptions and 8 is groceries, right? So the more things they can get on the truck, the more density they get, which means that drives their cost down. So I think there's a little bit of that. And then I think with drones, it's these one-off outliers. It may make sense. It may be cheaper for them to send a drone out than it is to send a truck.
Yeah, I kind of that if you're already going to that area, make it worth your while,
Yep.
So that does bring us to making it worth your while. Dana, we are just about out of time today. But that does leave me with we have a new question for you today. We've already gotten some dad jokes out of you, and we've gotten your take on cereal as soup. So for today, if you could only have one color of food for the rest of your life, what color would you choose?
Okay, question for you. When you say one color of food, does that mean like an apple is red and I can only eat food that is currently red? Like turnips and...
I would say like it would be whatever color is on the exterior. Because like if you eat like a chicken tender, it's brown on the inside but white on the inside. It's brown on the outside but white on the inside. And it like a blueberry, it's blue on the outside but like that weird like cleary, I don't think it's the weird blueberry color on the inside. It's not blue. So I'm going to say with the exterior of it in its final form. Like, so like if you have raw meat, it's going to like a raw steak, it'll be red. But like a cooked steak might be brown or gray if you cook it in the microwave like a monster.
Well, I love steak. So I might have to go, well, is that considered red or brown?
It's brown. Well, it's whatever its final form is.
Final form. So if I could only eat brown things, brown. There's not a lot of brown food.
There's a lot of brown food. You got like everything fried. You got chocolate cake, onion rings, chicken tendies. Brown does have
ice
the
cream.
most variety.
I'd have to go brown. I thought about maybe red.
Mm-hmm.
Strawberries. There's some pretty good red. Probably do a pizza sauce.
There you go.
That's final form. Ooh, I could almost live on pizza though.
That is true. And I mean, most pizza could be red.
Red or brown? Red or brown? I got to go with steak, so I'm going brown.
Okay. All right.
Cooked on a grill.
Cooked on a grill. Okay. Specifically cooked on a grill steak, not in a microwave, so it's not gray. All right. So, Dana, if someone wants to question your food color choices, or if they have any questions about maybe they're struggling with last mile pharma delivery, where can they find you outside the show?
So you can certainly go to LinkedIn. You can find both me and our company, Phonetic, on LinkedIn. Or you can go to phonetic.com, which is our website, and you can contact us there. And we're happy to reach out and talk to you about Last Mile as well.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Mary.
You can catch other episodes of Running on Ice right here on FreightWaves TV, YouTube, or anywhere else you get your podcasts like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Need more Running on Ice news? No sweat. Subscribe to the newsletter on freightwaves.com/runningonIce. See you on the internet.